All right, everyone. Now we have to talk about HUD, which is something that anyone familiar with despises, basically. We're talking about HUD headquarters, actually, at the moment, although we'll talk about HUD more generally. Housing and Urban Development. What a wonderful bureau. Everyone loves them so much. Actually, literally everyone, including probably the HUD workers themselves, fucking hate it. It is suggested that the Trump administration should have their administrative headquarters bulldozed, basically, because it's one of the most ugly buildings in the goddamn world. I happen to agree with them. It looks like something out of Soviet Russia, in 1982 or something like that. It's take a look at it. Just Google it. HUD headquarters and see what you think. I don't think that there's a person in the entire world who doesn't agree that the building is a monstrosity. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of brutalism. You can get some even in Amsterdam when you go over there, especially in the South. That being said, can a building be attractive anymore? Is that completely impossible? Ultimately, though, the big problem, though, is with HUD itself. That is that HUD is unreliable. It is extremely bureaucratic. It is extremely inefficient in every possible way, shape, and form, and makes no sense at times, honestly. HUD is basically, you apply for housing, and 6 months later, after being homeless for the entire period of time, maybe you get a shit shack or something like that, and you'll be lucky to have it. You've got to suck the government's cock in order to get good housing. Meanwhile, people who come to the United States illegally, they don't have to go through those hoops. No, they get it right off the bat, and depending on the state that they're in. They'll get housing right away, luxury housing, whereas you, unfortunately, as a tax-paying American, are treated as a second-class citizen in your own country. Very, very interesting how that works, by the way. HUD is useless. They should just disband it entirely. I actually disagree with this. Link in the description archived, of course. Everyone agrees that the monstrosity that their headquarters is should be blown up and replaced by something that's actually, reasonably attractive. But I want to go further. Eliminate HUD entirely. Housing and urban development should not even bother existing. Because much like the VA and certain other regulatory and bureaucratic groups, they simply perform no reasonable function. If you're going to tell people, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, that they cannot get subsidized housing simply because there's, the wrong mark on a piece of paperwork, or they made $2 too much that year, or something like that, especially in this economic climate, then it doesn't make sense for them to exist at all. What's the goddamn point? All they're doing is being dead weight on the taxpayer. Just eliminate HUD. Get rid of it. It's completely useless. It's completely pointless that it exists at all. HUD has been almost universally hated by Americans that have had to interact with it for a substantial period of time. I've interacted with people, for example, that have gone through housing and urban development. Not one of them, not a single person has had a positive experience. Not a single one of them. This doesn't surprise me. It's sort of like the IRS. Oh yeah, glowing reviews. Man, the IRS was so cool. That never happens. There are certain bureaus that simply are so inefficient and or so obtuse and or so regulatory in nature that nobody goddamn likes them. HUD is definitely one of them. Again, I've known people that have had to go through HUD. Yeah, 6 months later, you finally got your pod. You can eat the bugs. Oh wait, you can't afford the bugs, and they're not subsidized yet, so you'll have to wait several years for additional regulation. That's basically the way that it goddamn works. There are people out there that have never had to interact with, these bureaucratic groups. Lord bless you. That's amazing. And it's great. I hope that you never have to do so because Jesus Christ. Uh, HUD is useless. They've been useless for a long time. I would tell Trump, if I was his advisor, yes, you should bulldoze their headquarters because it is a brutalismus monstrosity. It looks like something out of the goddamn Soviet Union. Only somehow they managed to make it look worse. Like, I'd rather be in the goddamn Soviet Union, like fucking East Germany or something like that, than have to go to the HUD headquarters. But that being said, once you bulldoze it, you shouldn't even bother to rebuild it. You should just get rid of the agency altogether. It would be a better world if HUD did not exist. If you want to subsidize housing, simply allow people to make a brief application. You don't need HUD for this. Make a brief application, say, look, I'm poor. I don't have anywhere to live. I'm going to be homeless. Okay, well, we're subsidizing your housing. Instead of prioritizing luxury suites for people who are illegally in the country and should be deported anyway, why don't you prioritize the American citizenry? It would make a little bit more sense. But then, government tends not to make sense. HUD certainly doesn't. By the way, your headquarters looks like a brutalismus monstrosity, there's probably a reason for that. It's basically like watching the movie Brazil or something like that. Makes absolutely no sense at all. I don't know who designed the fucking building, but ugh. I mean, I've seen some slab concrete materials before. I've seen some ugly buildings. There's plenty of them in the Netherlands, for example. By God, it's one of the ugliest buildings on the world. It's literally one of the ugliest buildings that exists. And we're talking a world in which you have Soviet architecture and stuff like that. It's literally that bad. Look at it for yourself if you don't believe me. Look up HUD headquarters DC on Google Images and prepare to puke. That's about all. Peace out.